Well, grace, mercy, and peace to you from God our Father, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. This story, which, as I mentioned, Jesus doesn't necessarily say this is a parable, so we're not quite sure whether we should take this literally, that this is how the system of heaven and hell and earth works, but it certainly is going to teach us something today about how we are to live in this life. You see, we so often hear a story like this and think it's all about heaven and hell, and we get taken away with that chasm that's in between and the relationship between the two. The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis does this and explores that idea. But for me, this story is so much about this life and how we are to live now in this life. And so we have a rich man whose name is not given, and most often the time, Jesus doesn't name these people for a specific purpose. And so the rich man represents the Pharisees who were lovers of money. And this rich man took great merriment in life to the extreme. We know that in the prodigal son, the father throws this great lavish feast, right, and kills the fatted calf, and it's a great and glorious feast, and it's a big moment, but it's a once in a generation, once in a lifetime kind of feast. Well, the same word is used for the feast that this rich man, would have every single day. So this man had so much of an abundance and used it for his merriment, for his guests. They feasted all the time, and yet Lazarus, who is named, and so that means he's of great importance to Christ. He is named, and he represents the outcast of the people of Jerusalem, those who were pushed off to the side, right? He is named, and he must rely on others to survive. Now, he doesn't have, he's not outcast out of the society, so he's had help brought to this place. Now, are these extremes? Yes, absolutely. And does this story make us feel a little sick when we hear about Lazarus and the dogs licking his sores? It might not sit well with you. And it might not sit well if the rich man has so much and so easily passes by. But be careful not to take yourself out and say, this doesn't apply to me. We must pull the truth from this story and then apply it to ourselves. We're not the rich man. We'll see if that time's up later. We're not the rich man, and we're not Lazarus, but it doesn't mean the truth of this story doesn't apply to us. And so the story goes on, and we have what is called the great reversal. The great reversal. Rich, poor, blessing, curse. And when they get to eternity, they are flipped, right? The great reversal. Now Lazarus, who had curse, who has poor, who had nothing, is now in eternity in blessingness, right? Has everything. And the rich man is down in hell, who is scorched, who just longs for a bit of water to relieve himself. But the problem, if we just think about it in its context, in this one moment, and not use the rest of the Bible to understand what's happening here, it's easy to think that, well, I need to be poor so that I could be blessed in heaven. And I better not be rich because otherwise I'm cursed. The blessing does not bring, blessing does not bring blessing, and curse does not bring curse. Likewise, blessing does not bring curse, and curse does not bring blessing. The point of this, and we see this when they talk about this great chasm in between heaven and hell. The point of this story isn't because you are blessed, you will be cursed. Or because you are cursed, you will be blessed in eternity. That's not how it works. The position in life don't translate to eternity. That's not what bridges the chasm. We know that only Jesus bridges the chasm. That only Jesus and faith in Him and life in Him through the waters of baptism bring us blessing. So let's just get that out of the way now, right? While there is this great reversal, it's not a cause and effect kind of thing. So let's dig into this a bit more. What does it mean? What truth are we to understand from this? Well, what we know is that the realities of this life, what we have, whether it is blessing or curse, what are we doing with that? How are we living our life? What are we doing with our life? That's what this parable is calling us to consider. What am I doing with my life? Because Lazarus was cursed. And the rich man had much. He had blessing. Lazarus had curse. But what am I doing with that position in life? We know that Jesus fulfills my life in heaven. He is the one that brings me into eternity. So what am I doing with what I have here now? How am I living this life? See, the problem is, I think most of us make an idol out of life. That our idol is the life that we live. We think this is the most valuable thing we have, is this life. That's why wealth is to be amassed in the secular world. Hey, in the Christian world, we do it too, right? We amass wealth, we amass blessing, and we hold on to it. And how many times does Jesus tell us to watch out for that idol of money? But I think other things in life become an idol. Maybe it's our health, in that we do anything and everything to be healthy, to have a perfect life, to do what is right for me. And we make that our idol. You know how we know this? It's a billion-dollar industry. Follow the money, right? That's where idols go. Sport, follow the money. We make that our life obsession. How many Geelong supporters are just ecstatic right now and thinking this is as good as life gets? And we'll see for the NRL next week which supporters are going to be excited and feel like this is it. This is life. It's been accomplished. This is what I'm about. This is my identity. But it's not just that. It's also what we don't do that becomes the idol in our life. The ways we have sins of omission. I know this is a big churchy word, omission. It means basically what we don't do. We know we do bad things. We know we sin and hurt people all the time. But we also sin and break the heart of our Father in heaven when we don't do things that we should. And that's what this parable is about, this story is about, is that the rich man didn't do something for Lazarus. He justified his abundance and chose to not see the poor. How often do we do that? And we make excuses as to why we can't help. Not now, I'm not in the right spot, I'm not secure enough financially, I'm not quite right. I experienced this when I was downtown just yesterday. The kids and I and another family were doing this Alice in Wonderland journey. And it was really cool, and we had to follow prompts on our phone and get from one place to the next to the next. But I don't know in my family or the other family how much they noticed the people we walked past. That we're sleeping, that we're poor, that we're Lazarus. And yet we were all about our game. We are all about competing and getting it done and following the clues and walking right past them and not thinking another thing, not seeing them. So I'm guilty of this just as much. We walk past our Lazaruses in our life. And so we need to think about what are we doing with our blessing or with our curse. Have we had a difficult life? Have you had some difficult things happen to you? Some things that didn't go right. Maybe it's in your health. Maybe it's your lack of wealth. Whatever it might be, it doesn't mean you get a cop-out and go, I don't have to do anything. No, Jesus calls us to use whatever we've been given, whether it is blessing or curse. We need to live for eternity here on earth. We need to live for what is to come. And so that's why I thought about this idea of living for eternity here on earth. And a quote from my favorite musical, Hamilton, "For the first time, I'm thinking past tomorrow." Now, in the context of the musical, he's talking about something different. But for us, for me, when I think about that quote, for the first time, I'm thinking past tomorrow. Not just what day is to come, but beyond tomorrow, which can only be eternity. Because tomorrow is always here. There's always a tomorrow, right? And if you're living for only tomorrow, you're never living for today. But we're going to live past tomorrow, for eternity, thinking about what we can do today. And so living for eternity means different things. Living for eternity changes how we are. We become living, I lost my notes. So I want to jump into this idea of rich man, of Lazarus again. Because we got to think about what does it mean to live for tomorrow. So what's interesting in this story is the rich man tells how to change his family. His hope that they will be changed. This idea of what do they need to live for eternity, to not end up in hell. And so he tells them, well, send Lazarus. Send somebody to speak a word of warning to them. And then he says, if not that they see a miracle, that someone rise from the dead to warn them to live for tomorrow. Didn't quite work. But Abraham's response each time, they have Moses and the prophets. They've had their warning. And a resurrection won't do it. That miracle won't change their life. And so this reminds me of what our response to this. How do we live for eternity out of the truth of this passage? Well, our response is to listen to the gospel, right? To listen to the gospel, to hear what Jesus is calling us into, to live our life, but to also live in the resurrection of Jesus. No one can believe it happens, and so it's only by faith that we live in the resurrection. And so simply put, our response, this is where I wanted this alarm to go off, is to be hearers, yes, but be doers. Be hearers. Hear the alarm that is calling out to you. Hear the words of Jesus. I have saved you. Now be doers. Don't hit the snooze button again and again and again and thinking my life in heaven is secure. I can just sleep in. Snooze, snooze, snooze. No, we're called to be doers, to wake up, to get out of bed, to go and to love, to share the gospel truth. That's what we're called to do as a church, as followers of Jesus. And the passage from 1 Timothy, which couldn't match up better with this passage, reminds us of how to do that. Look at this. But you, man of God, Flee from all of this and pursue righteousness, goodness, faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. I love each of these words. Righteousness, walk in the path Christ has set out for you, that He has done for you, the righteousness He has earned. And walk in godliness, right? Walk in a way that is good, right? And realize that it is faith that is pursuing, that is pushing, that is moving in you, that it's not of you, but it's that of something else. And here's how you do it: by love. And by endurance, meaning it's not always going to happen right away. And it might take some time for things to develop and to grow in those relationships with non-believers. And to remember gentleness, that you can't force this. It's not for you to force, but it's you to be filled with grace and with gentleness. And so we're called to be doers, to go and to live this life for eternity, and to not hit the snooze. Amen? Amen.